I've been thinking a lot about permission lately because no one ever gives you permission, but I'm always looking for permission. No one sits you down at 42 and says, "You're allowed to change now." For most of my life, I was who I needed to be to survive, who my kids needed me to be, and who other people expected me to be. But after my kids grew up and my health began to change, things became uncertain for me. And in that uncertainty, this question came up. What if I don't want to be this version of myself anymore? That question scared me because it felt selfish, it felt like I was being ungrateful, and it feels like admitting that there was something wrong. But the truth is, nothing was wrong. I did the best I could with what I knew how to do. I held everything together. I masked. I pushed through, and I showed up. Then I learned more about myself. I learned that my brain works differently. I learned that so much of what I thought was failure was actually ADHD. And I learned that exhaustion doesn't mean weakness. It just means that I was carrying too much for too long. Giving myself permission to change doesn't mean I'm erasing who I was. It just means that I'm honoring who I was. Because who I was got me here. And now I get to choose to be something softer. Change doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to mean starting over from scratch. Sometimes change is just resting without guilt, saying no without expectation, letting go of what you think you should be, getting curious about who you actually are. I think a lot of women reach this stage in their life and assume that something is wrong with them. They think that they are having a breakdown. But maybe this isn't a breakdown. Maybe this is clarity. Maybe this is what happens when you finally stop living in survival mode. So if you're here, you're in your 40s with grown or growing kids, or newly diagnosed or newly self-aware, I want you to hear this. You don't need anyone else's permission. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to want different things. You are allowed to outgrow a life that once made sense.